If you're new here, what you're seeing or going to watch is how I actually put in order all the four gospels, or the best verses, most truthful that I could find or prove. And then I have many videos going 2 to 3 hours going over each verse in word. And what you see here is I've started off with words of Luke. Here, but you can see how I combined the verses together when I had a story that needed to be put together. This is going to be what you're seeing here. But what it is this will be the last video that I do on changing the words, because I'm going to try to put it in the print, even though I need a few millions of dollars. So I got to come up with that next. But I know I had the word Caesar here because I didn't like the word Augustus, because when I was researching and I put in just Caesar, meaning just the next one or a line, I couldn't figure out exactly when Jesus was actually when this happened. And what I realized is that in the text, we have this governor over the whole area, not a king. Can't have a king. Caesar is Caesar over Rome. So this would have been at the early stage, and then as he was establishing his authority, then it's Jesus's years. So that's why I have to add the word later years to make sure this text is as correct as possible, and put in Augustus. Okay, so, and what I do is just have this up in slides right now, so it's easier to do that right now. The number 5 is being replaced or taken out for the simple fact I can't say that's exactly truthful number. There would have probably been more sitting rooms, people fleecing people out of their money. So they probably had just people with chairs sitting around and stuff like that. So this just has to be sitting rooms, and then places for people to sit. Now, here I had to move the word Bethel to over here to make it read correctly. I didn't like it when I read it this way, so I've said, okay, I've got to start making my final tweaks in the text that's really bugging me, and that's what this video is about. So here's a perfect example. The way that those who don't believe Jesus was to be there not as a king would have been, you can't be saying give us more signs, because Jesus, you can't do any more signs than what Jesus was doing. So it has to be show authority to be the truthfulness of this text. For the simple fact, they would have been saying, well, he's not a king yet, and he's not king over everybody, so this guy is falsely teaching, and he's just a prophet. See, so I wanted to make sure that the text was specifically and understood as what they were saying about it when our king comes. See, so it has to be this show, not just give us more signs. He has to have the authority as king. Getting rid of more words for 12-year-olds to be able to read the text. Got rid of this and put in what it actually is, so they don't have to turn to a secular dictionary. Now this, when I seen this in the text, I kind of had to laugh. I said, how'd that get in there? And I know that I work on the text for the last couple months here, really trying to put in cross-referencing notes, making sure all the notes or all the prophecies are there, and then had to label all the prophecies as one prophecy, like prophecy 35, A, B, C, D, all the way down to Z, to say that this was about Babylon's time to come down. So, but what I would do is when I was chatting on the social media, social media, I know I would have just started typing, and I didn't know I was on the text still with the type board, because I usually try to put everything over on a notepad to keep things separate. So I know that what this was, I was added, and it's probably the start of somebody's name out there that I was texting, because usually I try to let them know who I'm talking to. So that's out now for sure, but that is an error. Now this word believer, it could have been the word faithful here, but that isn't quite what's going on here in this sentence, because see, people were still not really sure. They were, because you got to understand, their priests are corrupt at this time already, all over again. And there's foreigners all over talking about their religions from the East, and even from the Egyptians' days. So the thing here is Jesus would have known that all of a sudden they would have been turned around, and they're saying, no, I'm a believer because I now know and see him. So the thing here is those people have to be the believers that were not sure and kind of in question and didn't really, like a lot of Christians today, they don't talk about their faith. They hide off to the side. They don't vote. And we have such a crappy country because they don't vote. But the object is I wanted to make sure that these were believers and not just faithful. Here is where I'm going to start adding the disciples' names into text, and I just randomly picked them, but I didn't want to just say his disciples asked. I'm going to have different disciples asked, so you're more familiar with them. And over here, this is talking about Solomon. He couldn't clothe himself like one lily. I didn't think that was really as good as clothes, because you can put on a crown, you can put on rings on your hands, to over ornate yourself. So it's kind of like more make himself like one lily, not just clothe himself. I needed the different things that he could have done. That because he had a signet ring. All kings wore a signet ring, so he could have had other. Look, he was very rich, had a lot of people giving him a lot of things, so he could have had like a gold chains, gold this, gold that. So, heck, he could have even had gold cloth, or made into cloth, or sewed into cloth. Now this is very important here. This change is probably going to bother a lot of people when they read this, so I want to make sure I go over this. And this is when Jesus knew this is going to be changed to our Creator's will, his will, had healed. And we're talking about the woman who come up behind him and touched, and she was immediately healed. And Jesus knew his will had healed, or I should have guessed maybe have to put healed her, but maybe because I didn't put the word her because of the way it reads. So I just wanted to make sure that it's not a gift, it's his will. Now you're saying, well, I want to debate with you someday. Well, I'm going to jump to that argument right now, because I use this to show people that Jesus actually defined what Holy Spirit is by it's not you who speaks, but the Holy Spirit, or it's going to be his holy words, or it's our Father who speaks in or through you. I had to put both of them because through you is described right here. Zacharias prophesied, Elizabeth prophesied. They didn't. He talked about John. She knew that Jesus was in her Mary's womb. So these things could only be our Creator's words. Now that proves this in through you. The end inside you. This is where Jesus comes down here and says, I will teach you, or his words will teach you that very hour what you ought to say, which means in your head. Now, there are prophets that have the same thing happen to them. I can think of Isaiah being like this. I can't think of the harness that's used for like horses to control them, but the thing here is he was prophesying wearing that, and then some guy comes along, their prophet, and said, our Creator said, no, they're coming back in 2 years. And then all of a sudden, Isaiah or Jeremiah says, okay, that's fine. He walks away, and then our Creator tells him to go back and tell this guy this. So I'm sure it wasn't allowed. So this is the perfect example of our Creator speaking to him in his head. And then here, Jesus saying, I am cast out demons by, and I would probably put our Creator's name here, words. So it's our Creator's words coming to Jesus in his head, who to heal and who not to heal. So this argument here is now got to be applied to this, is how he healed. Our Creator was talking to him. So when you're, this is going to be, I know, one of the big arguments that people are going to have, but me, I have to be truthful as I can, because I don't want to be kicked out of heaven. So I couldn't live with it as a gift, because it's not a gift. That's for sure. So it had to be something. And when I'm thinking of what was there, he reminded me of what I was using for the argument. So it's kind of like his will had healed, and Jesus, then he turned around. Okay. So the thing here is, did our Creator talk to him that he healed? Most likely he did. Okay, because a lot of people were touching him, so he knew his will had healed. It would have been our Creator talking to him in his head. So that's exactly what those words mean and applying for everybody. Okay, again, changed it to Philip. This text I've already moved once. I'm now moving it again. It still doesn't read right here, but I finally got the right spot. It'll be a little bit later. Now this is important because we're talking about Elijah here, and it's this King Herod as the governor. And Pontus is the other governor. So the thing here is yes, I've changed their names, but the thing here is Eastern religions talk about reincarnation. Now, I've got knowledge that tells me how they would have thought that. See, when they meditate instead of falling asleep, they meditate every day, and after 25 years, when they're sitting in the darkness, at a certain point, they will have these visitors or people talking to them that have left the earth and now are dead and become gods. And this would have been their proof of heaven, okay, or the afterlife. But they couldn't find everybody else out there that didn't have this practice like they had. So the thing here is it's kind of like they would say, well, then they're reincarnated. Okay, so the thing here is that's where they got this idea of Elijah, because Elijah, rode a chariot into the third heaven, which is our heaven, where the birds fly. And so the thing here is that they're using him. And also the text even has Jesus saying John is Elijah. Well, we know Jesus would know there's no such thing as reincarnation. So all that being taken out, but you can see it's the Eastern influence, and it's kind of like, okay, I have to have his advisors, because it just couldn't be anybody, okay, that said this. I wanted to specifically note, he said to his servants, John the Baptist, this is what he said, raised from the dead. So he was under this influence. So the thing here is it would have been his advisors making the replying of this. So I just wanted to specifically put what they are. And they are his servants, by the way. I just wanted to point out what kind of servants. Maybe I should change that word to advisors. If you see that word in the text, advisors, then I did that. All right, here I needed to say was found, needed to explain why he was rejoicing it was found. So the thing here is I got rid of the word for, and now I read the sentence and didn't have to think of what was the meaning of the sentence. I tried to remove that as much as possible, by the way. Here is where I move the text so you can see that the text here after this verse number here, it's the story, yes, where you have to be work 1/12 of your life to be repent. So after that story, here again, Matthew, Thomas, Simon. Now here, it has to be strangers, not everyone. The thing here is this word has been changed to were asking. These would have been, as Jesus is, now you got to understand, they're in hilly country, and Jerusalem is here, although the mount with olive trees is here. Jesus had descended and then ascended into Jerusalem. So when he was coming up, there would have been people coming out and people coming in, and they're seeing Jesus come, and they're kind of asking, who is he? So it has to be strangers not knowing who Jesus is or what's been going on. They might have heard rumors. Now they saying, oh, this is him, or asking who is he, and they're being told who he is. Okay, I know when I changed the word market, I know I put a warning that I would be changing this if I had a better idea, but this was when I was editing just this text. I have found this prophecy, so in the book, YHVH'S Everlasting Promises, there will be numbers over here that will refer to that prophecy, so you can check it from here to there. And the prophecy pretty much explains what robbers are. So to keep with the prophecy, I had to change it back to robbers and not being influenced that what was going on here in the text. I moved the word afterward to here to make sense of what it is. And then I had to put in the words, remove me, and had to put I am him, which would have referred to their son from David that they were chanting or saying, shouting, rejoicing over. Okay, so, and they all knew that the son of David was to have a kingdom in heaven, and they had a place for their soul to rest from their enemy. So this would have been something he would have said without me have to put in here, son from David. Here, this story here, the virgins are going to get changed to servants to be more correct, include more people in this. I could go through and explain every proverb there is, but I'm thinking I should only do that in a couple places. But maybe in the future I will teach everything in the text, so we don't have a bunch of people saying, well, this means this, and I'm saying it does, and another one saying that. I might have to stop all that by just saying, you're all done forever. This is the best you're going to get is from the guy who edited the text. So here I'm summing up this. I didn't have hyphens here, but I'm removing all these words, and I'm going to put the word others here to sum up what this is. Not just one of them, but made them more. So, because I think that's the intent of the stories that he's given of examples. Again, I had to add this completely. I think it was just the word he. So, and to make it read smoothly this way, I did this, added his name. That is, the word end is not correct. This is me now just saying it has to be death. And I think I put the word bodily death here because our soul does not die. So when people say Jesus died for our sins, they don't know what the heck they're talking about. They're pretty much going by the church doctrine, our church fathers' doctrines, and they're the ones that have confused everybody and screwed up all the text, or some of it. Other people got a hold of it for 100 years before it got back to the Roman Church. But the object is this text can't be their end, because your soul lives on, so their body's death endures to their body's death. And we see many Christians, innocent Christians, getting killed, and that is the highest show of their belief. They have a full-on trust, and those people are going to be numbered here in a little bit here. Now, everyone on earth is to see me. When he's talking about his second coming, now earth will see me, is to see me. They're going to be, people, when they're saying he's coming in clouds and they don't know what this means, the above the North Star is where heaven is at. So if you want to know where Jesus is coming from, and you see everybody talking about these asteroids coming as where Jesus is going to come, that's not true. Our Creator has let us know that this is where he wants us to know where heaven is located on earth. So we have many visuals of what happens in the text. Now, this is where he's going to come from, and everyone is to see him. Now, I'm sure a lot of the very end of the south of the earth won't see him, but is to see him, okay? And that comes when he's coming from the north, and then he's not going to go down from the north. He's going to come up more or less to probably the equator, and then everybody is to see him. So immediately you're going to hear the news. So that's what this text actually is meaning and saying. I couldn't have many because his father's servants, everybody, and the story is about our Creator and how he treats all his servants. And so it has to be all, not just many. Many is a lot of people, but all includes every one of his servants. Like I said, now I'm really picking out the words that I've got to make more clear. This is a group of text that I'm just eliminating, and it's going to go with the other groups of things that I got rid of that are I defined as truths, but I couldn't fit them anywhere. And it still doesn't read good in this place. And I looked all over the place where I could add this, and it's better just get rid of it because I found other stories that have this likeness, and it's more or less being bribed. So again, I've added body's death here. Okay, now I just got done talking about people that trusted our Creator and Christians being killed. So here is Elijah being put here. And again, they're just putting his name in to keep this belief that it was Elijah that John was reincarnated as. But when I'm thinking back, because we have Moses here, Moses had to fully trust our Creator. He was being sent to an Egyptian king, and he's taken his family with him, and the king of Egypt could kill him and his family at any time. Okay, so the thing here is if you were a king and had those things happen to you in your land, you would pretty much want to kill him. Moses knew what was going to happen to him and his family, and he still went. So when it comes to the order of who trusted our Creator the most, was Abraham. So I'm adding the name Abraham because from Abraham, by our Creator telling us he trusted him the most, he established his everlasting covenant or promises through Abraham. Moses would have been the next on this list before Jesus. Now Jesus is number one, Abraham is second, Moses is third. And as far as I know, every Christian that's innocent Christian on this earth that has ever been killed for saying, you can kill me because I believe in Jesus. The thing here is they're trusting our Creator's will. So we could put David and then these people, but these would be from Israelis' time, or from that time and before. But those afterwards, I couldn't think of another person that has that much trust, except for those that have actually innocently been killed for refusing to deny Jesus or our Creator. I had to add these words, and this is Judas. This story can only be said by Judas. So I had to add the words here after he told us. That I was there, but I had to now add more what happened. Then he went out and hung himself. They wouldn't have known this story without Judas, because when I'm looking at this text, there is a lot of verses that I could make first person, and then there's some texts like this that you have to have a real good guess. Example, only Jesus being tempted in the desert by Satan came from Jesus that went to the disciples that got recorded that way. Okay, so there's a verse about Elizabeth saying John in her womb kicked her. Only a woman would remember that, and only a woman would have mentioned that when they were going around getting eyewitnesses of what happened. And I don't think Elizabeth was around, and Zacharias was around at Jesus's body's death. But the thing here is now you know they're recording even before, and probably starting with John and the things that happened to him. And then I don't know when David was Joseph was told he is the son of David and to marry Mary. Or marry with Mary. So this is what this text has to be here. His body's left side, because his soul is out. Yet everyone on earth will know I obeyed our Father. This is pretty much the truth of what needs to be said. So it has, yet everyone on earth will know I obeyed. And he's specifically saying what the helper was to do to come around, and I am the helper, correcting all the text here to be as truthful as possible. Like I've said, our Creator made me see him 8 times. So there is a path that makes me a prophet that's repeatable. And this can happen to everybody, males and females. Males, they can do it alone. Females will need help. But that's my video of self-proof of afterlife. So if you doubt me at all, I'm giving you a self-proof of you have a soul. You can talk to those dead in another dimension of time and space known as the abyss. Like our Creator told Cain, Abel is calling to me from the ground, and the ground is underneath the land. The land is what is visible in the text. The ground is underneath, and we know everybody else knows that means there's a space down in the below. They called it Sheol in the old text, but all the verses when I looked at Sheol, that didn't have a good descriptions of actually. Sheol could be used sometimes like a city or a gathering point, and you're just in the abyss. It's a deep, dark emptiness. I've said it before. Think of the size of the universe and think of everything missing. And there's just beings floating around. And yes, they are assigned in their own groups down there. So, or wherever this dimension of time and space is, but our Creator was letting them know, because they had this concept of this heaven with where the birds fly needs to exist for man to exist, was known as another dimension of time and space, and heaven was above the North Star, where another dimension of time and space exists. So they would accept one under, just so they would know our Creator was teaching them what he was teaching them. Okay, now I had to add the words others here for the simple fact, I gotta check something. I think this is the last one here. Yeah, this is going to be the last slide. I had to add the word others here because this is talking about the disciples, who are the 11 of them, were to go out and talk and spread Jesus's gospel. But since they passed away, we have all kinds of other people would have been making their witnessing. We had the disciples, plus many of the eyewitnesses of what Jesus was doing, did. But now it's been a few hundred years, so other people have been going around and proclaiming Jesus. So this is why I had to add others. You and others are to go and make them believers in me. So this would include a lot of those that you're listening to, even though you're not getting the true truth from them. But this is got to be added into the text. All right, now my next, I got to figure out how to raise tens of millions of dollars to put this into print, transfer it into many languages, and print it in many different countries. So Yep. Don't know what I'm doing right now, but I've got a thought I'm going to try out. So the thing here is the next videos I will be doing will not really be on the text for a while, I don't think. But I think that I need to do one of what my knowledge is against the Trinity. So I know I got to get into that. And I've been compiling years worth of text for that. So that might take me a while to assemble it now. But the thing here is other than that, I'm going to be coming out and when somebody is preaching something that is on there, that they are only using one verse and can't remember the other verses, I'm going to be correcting them. Other than that, have a good day. And for those of you that now are in the future, and we're all, most of us are in heaven, have a good day.